This was my great-grandfather. Well, in fact, he farmed in Evanston, Illinois for a while, and then he came to California and was milling business here, and then he was downtown Sacramento. Anyhow, he sold a lot in where they built the Capitol and bought the ground out here at Citrus Heights. And that house burnt down, and they built the one that's there now later on. The Rush built that, I think. They had ranch all around it. There was, I know the 50 acres was east of them towards Antelope. And then across the road was the Lauppe. My grandfather had a piece there. He married a Foley and bought the ground across the street from him. Anyhow, he had to quit going to school, and because the dad worked for the railroad, and they moved him up to Oregon, and he still had that ranch to run, so my grandfather quit school at 13, and he was a jack of all trades. He built the Grange Hall. It was a two-story affair, and dance hall and stuff was all upstairs, and they had an opening celebration. Well, in those days they had some dance anyhow where the girls would run to one side and the men to the other side, and the whole thing was kind of shaky, I guess, because he woke Dad up the next morning early, and they went down and started tacking more braces across the Grange Hall, keep it from wobbling when people went back and forth. But went first grade in Sylvan Corners. My mother used to drive me to school, but then I'd walk home along Highway 80. Then there wasn't too many cars in those days. I wouldn't walk on it today, that's for sure. My dad had a almond orchard on Beard Lane, about 20 acres or so of almond. He bought some ground out in Natomas. That was District 1000, and only had one road down the middle of it that was paved. The rest of them were all dirt roads, so in the wintertime, you were stuck in the mud if you got off that main road. So wintertime, we'd spend up here in Citrus Heights and then down at the ranch in the summertime. Most of my time was spent helping on the farm ranching anyhow, driving tractor or whatever. And I can remember they bought a new Model D John Deere. They drove the thing down the old Auburn Road out into the field and then put the grousers on it there, because we didn't have anything to haul the tractor in those days. And I can still remember, I was about 7 years old, and I can still smell the green paint burning on that manifold. It was brand new, you know. So Dad let me harrow in the wheat there, and about 50 acres, and because I couldn't hit anything, there was one oak tree. So I thought I was died and going to heaven driving that John Deere around. And Dad had a Dodge car, and I remember it's kind of a hill running down to the Auburn Road there. And if we went to Roseville, I would take the thing out of the Deere and coast down the hill. And if it started, why, Mom and I would go to town. Otherwise, I would wait till Dad came home to crank the car. Well, I served in the Navy during World War II. I was drafted. When I got to the end of the line, they said, "You want land or sea forces?" Well, I didn't particularly care camping out, so I chose the Navy. I ended up on an LST, and we took the ship down the Mississippi and went to New York and got a convoy and went to Europe and went in on D-Day, and then we hauled England into France on that LST. And as soon as the war was over, we mothballed it in St. Johns River down in Florida, and then I went back to the ranch. And I thought I knew it all by then, so I didn't go back to school. I used my GI Bill to learn to fly, and so I bought an airplane. And well, every year my grandmother wanted a picnic. And when they passed on, why, there were 7 brothers and sisters, and we still have a picnic every year. And every 7 years, when it comes around,